Hello all, welcome to Excel training. Today we are going to see very most important topic as far as Excel is concerned, lookup functions. Let's get started. So these are the types of lookup functions available in Excel. We have most important function which is called Vlookup. We'll go deep into what is VLOOKUP and how exactly you construct VLOOKUP using uh, Excel database. What is HLOOKUP? What is match, index, offset? So all these things we're going to see in your lookup functions. Okay, so let's start with VLOOKUP first. Under VLOOKUP, we'll see what is exact match VLOOKUP, what is approximate match VLOOKUP, what is named ranges, how to use named ranges inside VLOOKUP, and what are the advantages and disadvantages of VLOOKUP. Okay, so let's take an example and look into what exactly VLOOKUP does. Okay, so this is a very basic example of a database where you have employee ID, employee name, location, designation, and salary. Right? So what exactly is a VLOOKUP? VLOOKUP stands for vertical lookup. Okay. So as the name suggests, lookup means you are trying to look up some part of the data from a entire database and try to extract some part of data from that. Okay. So that's what VLOOKUP will say. So you're looking up some data from the database, from one database, and try to pick up some part of the data from that entire database to construct a subtable, right? So you're basically looking up data uh, from a database. Okay, so let's see an example to demonstrate how exactly it works. Let's say I have an employee ID column here and employee name, location, designation, and salary. Okay, so using my employee ID, let's say employee ID is my lookup value. I want to extract employee name. Okay, so that's my basic scenario. So in a real-time scenario, generally your database will be in one sheet. Okay, and wherever you are constructing a subtable, it will be in another sheet. Okay, but for training convenience purpose, we are actually putting together in the same sheet. Okay, so your employee ID 111, let's say, and you're trying to extract something like employee name. Okay, so your VLOOKUP starts like this, equals to VLOOKUP of lookup value. There are actually four parameters which are to be given here. The fourth parameter is not mandatory, that is optional parameter, but these three parameters are mandatory. Let's say lookup value. Your lookup value will be whatever value you are looking up from the table, right? So from the table we have a column called employee ID column that is considered as your lookup value here. With that I'm trying to extract the employee name, so lookup value will be my employee ID, with which value you're trying to extract other parts of the data. That's what your lookup value is, right? Second, it says table array. Table array refers to the entire database on which you're working. Okay, so this is my entire database on which I'm going to extract data. So I'm going to select the entire database. As the database remains constant, okay, so you have to freeze that. I'm going to press F4 such that the database gets freezed, and comma column index number. Column index number is the third parameter which refers to which column you are extracting from the table. Okay, and that number. Okay, now I'm trying to extract employee name, that is residing in the second column in my database, right? So employee ID will be my first column, employee name will be my second column. Let's say if you're extracting location, location will be in the third column. So in this case, I'm extracting employee name. So I'm going to give a 2, which is my second column in the database. And last parameter says whether you're using exact match or approximate match. The ID, lookup ID, which you are actually looking up is exactly same with your database ID or not. Okay, here 111 is the ID which I'm looking at, and that ID is exactly same with your employee ID or not. That's what your exact match condition says. So it is exactly same with the database ID, that is 111. So it is an exact match. So zero refers to zero or false refers to exact match. True or one refers to approximate match. So in this case, we're going to see only the exact match condition. So it's a false or zero. So I give a zero here, close bracket, enter. So here I'm trying to extract something called employee name corresponding to your employee ID, which is 111. Okay, so that is what your basic VLOOKUP function says. So I repeat this again. We have lookup value. Lookup value refers to whichever ID you are looking up, that is your employee ID, and table array refers to the entire database from which you are extracting the data. This is the entire database. So I've selected the entire database here. Column index number refers to from which column in the table I am trying to extract data from. So I'm trying to extract data from the second column in this case. So it is a 2. And the last thing is your uh, match type. That is whether you are using exact match or approximate match. In this case, my employee ID is exactly same. That is 111 is same here with 111 in the table. So it's an exact match condition. So I give a 0. And so this is how you give a VLOOKUP, basic VLOOKUP function, which is trying to extract employee name from your employee ID table. Now, whenever you are constructing a formula in only one particular cell, you need not worry about the freezing part. Okay, but whenever you are trying to extend your formula for other cells, let's say I'm going to extract salary and location as well, both. Okay, then you must actually think of referencing or freezing what columns I should freeze, what columns I should not freeze. Okay, so let's look into that. Now in this case, my table of course is constant, so I've already freezed it. Okay, but lookup value, if you observe, this is employee ID is my lookup value. Even if I drag the formula towards the right, that is, even if I am constructing the formula for my salary, my lookup ID should always be employee ID. It should not be employee name or it should not be anything else. It has to be employee ID always. Okay, so to keep your column reference constant, that is, it always should take employee ID as your lookup value. You have to think of freezing it. So what should we freeze here? We have to freeze the column reference. That is, I put a dollar before J in such a way that your employee ID gets freezed. Okay. Now, even if I drag my formula towards the right, your J remains constant because I've put a dollar before J. That is, the column reference got freezed here. Okay. And yes, I just press enter and drag this formula towards the right, Control R. Fine. So even if you drag your formula towards the right, it always says Peter, 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 because your column index number says 2, 0 here. Okay, and even here if you observe, it is 2, 0, it is 2, 0, everywhere it is 2, 0. Now I have to make sure that as I'm looking for salary, this 2 should become 3. Sorry, in this case it is 5 because salary resides in the fifth column. Okay, and location, as far as location is concerned, location is in third column, so it has to be a 3 here. Okay, now I have to make sure that I automate this particular parameter, column index number, in such a way that you can always get the number whatever. Every time I just have to come here and change this to say 5, 0 and 3, 0. That is practically not possible. If you have 100 columns in your database and you're trying to extract 15 columns out of it, you have to go change your formula 15 times, which is not practically possible. So you'll have to make sure that that particular parameter, that is column index number, gets automated. Okay, so for that to happen, we have to learn one more function, which is called match function, right? So what is match function? Match, as you see the definition, match will give you the position of an item in an array. I repeat, it is extracting the position of an item in an array. Let's say my item is location. Okay, I'm looking for location in this array. Okay, so this is my array, let's say from J3 to N3. That's my array, and I'm trying to look for the position of location. As I'm looking for position, your result will always be a number, that is numerical data, right? So let's construct a match function. I say equals to match of my lookup value here, right? I'm looking for lookup value, that is location, comma, my lookup array, as I say, this only the headers, because I'm looking for the position of location inside that header, right? So that's my match. Okay, and match type, right? So what is the match type here? Again, my location, whatever I'm specifying here, is exactly same as the location inside your array or not. That's called exact match. So I say 0, that looks for exact match, and press enter. It says 3. Okay, that means your location, whatever is you're looking for, that is in the third position. If I change this to salary, that becomes 5. Okay, and if I'm looking for designation, it becomes 4, and so on. So what you're doing using match function, you're trying to extract the position of, or you're trying to locate the position of a column inside this array. Okay, so that's fairly about match function. We have a separate video on detailed version of how match function works. Okay, but as of now, this should do, because we need the position of a particular item in this array for our VLOOKUP to get automated. So I'm going to use the same logic, that's your match function, inside your VLOOKUP function to automate this particular stuff. Okay, so I'm going to open VLOOKUP. My lookup value is fine, my table array is fine, but my column index number is not fine. That's what I'm going to automate. So I use a match function here. I say match of, what's my lookup value here? Employee name. Okay, so that's my corresponding uh, lookup value, comma, what's my lookup array? That's there from the database. So this is my database. So I'm going to select only the columns. Okay, and I'm going to freeze that. Whenever you come across table arrays and lookup arrays, that will fairly be constant always. So I'm going to freeze that by pressing F4 key in my keyboard, and it's an exact match, of course. So I say 0. Close your match function and press enter. Okay, that will be the fully automated version of your VLOOKUP. Here I have my lookup ID. Here I have my table array, and this is my column index number. Okay, so column index number will be this match function that will give you a number which is corresponding to your employee name's position in your table. Okay, now how to check that? I can go to data, and I can say, I'm sorry, I can go to formulas tab, and I can say calculate now. Okay, if I just say calculate now, it says 2. That match function is returning you 2. That is the position of employee name inside your database. That is the second column. I do a control Z carefully to undo that and enter, and drag this formula to the right. Control R. Now you get the exact formula. To just make sure, I just delete this once again and drag this formula down. Control R. Now you are actually getting the correct output. Okay. Now if you see this particular match function, okay, and I calculate now once again, it gives you a 5. That is, salary is residing in the 5th position in your database. That's why it is giving you 5, 0. I do a control that, enter. So advantage with this is, let's say if I change this to location here, it gives you Bangalore. If I say designation here, gives you the designation. And if I do a control R and change this to salary, I get the salary. Okay, now in irrespective of how your sequence you're trying to extract, that is, if you are extracting only employee name and salary, or if you are extracting all the columns from your database, it doesn't matter. Your VLOOKUP and match will perfectly take care of it, and it gives you the correct result. Okay, so very useful as far as extracting data is concerned. VLOOKUP function, with VLOOKUP function here we are trying to extract the data from a very small, relatively small table. Okay, now this is for extracting only one row of data. Let's say I have another row that is 333. Okay, now if I drag this formula down, Will that work? It has to be a no, because we have not taken care of the freezing part still. Okay, now it is J12, that is this lookup value. Now when I drag this formula down, what happens? J12 will become J13. That's perfectly fine, because I want employee ID to be changing. That is 333 has to be taken care. So this works fine. Table array is fine because we have freezed everything. Even if you drag it, it still refers to the same table. So we're fine with that. Now coming to the match function, it says K11, that is, it is referring to K11, which is your employee name. Now when I drag this formula down, what happens? K11 will become K12. Okay, K11 will become K12, and instead of referring to your employee name, it refers to Peter. That's not what we wanted. It always has to refer to the employee name, which is my lookup value inside my match. It always has to refer to employee name and pick up that particular location, right? The position of employee name. So in this case, I have to make sure that your row reference is freezed, right? Not the column reference, only row reference. Because if I drag the formula down, it should always refer to the 11th row, not the 12th row. That's one thing. And if I drag the formula towards the right, it should refer to the location's position, not employee name's position, right? It has to keep changing. So here I should not freeze the column reference. I should only freeze the row reference. If you come to this particular thing, that is your VLOOKUP lookup value, when I drag the formula down, it has to refer to the 13th row, not the 12th row. Okay, but if I drag the formula towards the right, it should always refer to J column, not K column or not L column. That's why I have freeze the column reference. Here I have freeze the row reference. So which position, which either column reference or row reference, which needs to be freezed, needs to be taken care and needs to be freezed properly for your function to work. Okay, and here you have your lookup array, that is your entire database. So that column array, so that has to be freezed, because even if you drag your formula towards the right or down, it should always refer to the same array. Okay, and this 0 refers to your exact match for your match, and this 0 refers to the exact match for your VLOOKUP. Okay, so that is the end of your formula. Now I drag this to the right, Control R. I drag this down, Control D. It works perfectly fine. So it extracts the data based on whatever you're looking for. Okay, I can extract some columns from your entire database, or I can extract the entire set of data from the from your database. So everything works if you construct your VLOOKUP in this fashion. Okay, hope I'm clear here. So that is what your VLOOKUP is all about. Okay, so let's see some more examples. Fine, let's look at some more examples on VLOOKUP. Okay, so I have a table like this: boomerang, part number, flight range, and price. Okay, so here what I'm supposed to do, I have a boomerang here. I have to extract the price accordingly, and then I want to calculate for 3 units the total price. Okay, so let's do that. Equals to VLOOKUP of what's my lookup value, that is Belen, comma, that's my boomerang, and this is my entire table. So I'll have to select this entire table altogether and press F4 for freezing it. And price is residing in my fourth column, so I'll have to specify 4, comma, it's an exact match, so I give a 0 here, close, enter, right? So that's my price extracted for a boomerang called Belen, and I have to calculate the entire price. So I just have to say equals to this star. Okay, so whenever I change this boomerang to, let's say, quad or something, so the entire thing gets changed. Okay, so that's exact match condition, right? Now a couple of things to look into here is, whatever your lookup value, right? My lookup value, if you observe in the previous example, my employee ID is the first column in my database, right? Even here, your boomerang is your first column in your database. So in your VLOOKUP, when you're trying to use VLOOKUP, okay, make sure that your table, whatever table array you are selecting, the very first column in that table array should be your lookup column. I repeat this, whatever table array you are selecting, right? In that particular table, the lookup value should be the leftmost column in the table array which you are selecting. Okay. Now let's say if my lookup value is part ID, then I'll have part number, then I'll have to select a table like this from B column to D column, if at all my lookup value is part number. Here in this case, my lookup value is boomerang, so I'm just selecting the entire database like this. If my lookup value is part number, okay, and I give one of the part numbers here, Control C. Okay, you get a hash NA because your table is not properly selected. You have selected the entire table here, which includes boomerang as the first column in the database. Now, if my lookup value is part number, then my database array should be this. So your lookup value or lookup value column should always be the leftmost column of the table array which you are selecting. That's the first criteria. Okay, and you always can extract data towards the right. You can't extract data towards the left. That means you can't say part number and you can't extract boomerang. That will never be happening with VLOOKUP. Okay, you can, if your lookup value is part number, you can only extract flight range and price. You can't extract boomerang, right? You can't go left using VLOOKUP. That's kind of a drawback as far as VLOOKUP is concerned, but that's how it is designed. Okay. Now, if your part number is your lookup value, then I'll have to construct like this: lookup value. This is my lookup value, comma. Now this will be my table array. Okay, starting from your B column. So I freeze it completely, F4, and say now what's your price? Price will be in your third column. So I say 3, comma, exact match 0, close, enter. Now you'll be able to get the price. Okay, so that's the thing you'll have to make sure. Whatever your lookup value, that should be the leftmost column of your table array which you are selecting. Okay, now next example. Now let's say how to use your let's say previously we got a error, right? I do a control Z just to make sure. Yes. Okay, so it says hash NA, right? Now I'm trying to give a VLOOKUP of part number and I'm trying to select a wrong data. Okay, that's why it is giving a hash NA. Hash NA in VLOOKUP refers to, it's not an error actually, it says not available. Whatever value you're trying to look up is not available in the database which you have selected. That's what hash NA refers to. Okay, now sometimes you don't want to show hash NA or some kind of errors to your customer, right? So instead of that, you can actually suppress that errors using a function called if error. You can use if error on top of VLOOKUP to make sure that you suppress those errors and give a specific errors, okay, user defined errors. Okay, so let's see how to do that. This is how if error is used. Now, how if error generally is used is equals to if error. It says value comma value if error. You specify value. Okay, it can be anything. It can be a formula. It can be a value. It can be anything. If that particular value is returning an error, okay, then what needs to be specified? Let's say I give a simple example: 1 by 0. 1 by 0 gives you an error. Okay, so if at all it gives an error, what should I display? Okay, so sorry, it's an error, something like this. Okay, so I should give a customized error like this using a if error. Now instead of displaying a division by 0 or whatever error it is displaying, it will give you a customized error like this. That's what your if error will do. Okay, now if at all your VLOOKUP is giving an error, in this case you observe VLOOKUP, I say A21, so belen is my lookup value and I'm selecting A52 D12. Okay, that's your entire database, and I'm trying to say 4, 0. Okay, that means I'm trying to extract the fourth column okay, but it is giving you a wrong input. Okay, why? Because my belen is not existing in the database. In this, belen says blen. Here in your lookup value, it says blen. That means this particular boomerang is not available in the database which you have selected. That's why this formula will give you an error. To just cross check, I'll just select that vlookup function and say calculate now. Okay, it says hash na. Okay, when it gives you a hash na, what should I display? That's what I can give inside my if error. So this entire thing refers to value, that's your vlookup function, and if that results in an error, then what should result? It should say incorrect boomerang. Okay, so that's what incorrect boomerang is displaying. So if I change this to the correct input, that's my belen, then it will give you an exact output and it will calculate accordingly. Okay, so I can use a VLOOKUP and if error function to suppress any possible errors which VLOOKUP displays and give you the customized errors. Okay, so I'm just going back to the original thing. So that's your VLOOKUP. Okay, so VLOOKUP and if error. Okay, now, next thing is your data validation. That means you can give a named ranges. That means, let's say this is my database, right? So every time if I have to construct a VLOOKUP function, I'll have to come back here and select this database and try to construct a function. Okay. Now, instead of that, what I can do is I can name this range. Okay, I can name this range, and you can actually give that name inside your VLOOKUP function. Especially what happens when your sheet has multiple, when your workbook has multiple sheets. Let's say you have 20 sheets and your database is in the sheet one, and you're creating a dashboard in 20th sheet, then it's little difficult to navigate between sheets always, right? So it's always a good practice to name your table and use that inside your functions. I say this is my uh, boomerang table or b table, let's say, right? I say B table, enter. Okay, so that's the name I've given to this table. And I come back here, okay, I can construct a function like this equals to VLOOKUP of, this is my lookup value, comma, what is my table array? Now, I need not go back to the table now. I can simply say B table, right? So that's, see, it's getting displayed here, B table, comma, what's my column index number? I'm looking for a price column. It's in the fourth column, yes. Say 0, exact match, enter. That gives you the price, and that gives you the table total as well, right? So here what I'm actually avoiding is, instead of going back to the table and selecting it, I give a data table, named range using data validation, and uh, construct your VLOOKUP. Okay, so how data validation works, there is a separate video altogether, so you can just refer that. So that's what your VLOOKUP data validation named range is all about. Okay. Now these are some of the examples related to your VLOOKUP exact match. Okay, so let's see an example for you. What is approximate match as well, right? So what happens when your approximate match is there? And one more thing to mention here, the column which is referred to as your lookup value column, okay, that should be referring as your primary key column. Okay, when I say primary key column, that value should not contain, that column should not contain any duplicates or null values. Okay, now how your VLOOKUP works, okay, this is my part ID, part number, or let's say we go back to your boomerang itself, boomerang, and let's say what, right? Now how your VLOOKUP works is, it starts on the top of the table and it keeps navigating down and look for your boomerang, that is quad, right? So it keeps coming here, and whenever your first occurrence of quad comes, it will extract the corresponding data, that is your price. Okay, now that's how your VLOOKUP works. Now let's say I have another quad here. Okay, but you will always extract, you'll be able to extract only this quad's corresponding data, that is 35.95. It will never come down and look for this, because it starts from the top of the database and it keeps looking down for the first occurrence of quad. Okay, now that is why if you have duplicates in your lookup column, that will be of no use. Okay, so that's why you always make sure that you have your lookup column as your primary key column and contains no duplicates. Okay, so even if you have a second quad here, it will never come back and extract that data. It will always come to the first quad and extract the data accordingly. Okay, so that's one of the conditions as far as uh, lookup column is concerned. Lookup column should always be the left hand side of your database. That's first, and make sure that your lookup column doesn't have duplicates. That's all about your VLOOKUP exact match. Now let's go to approximate match condition. Okay, so let's see that I have a table like this. Okay, now I have something like sales amount, I have some category and commission here. Okay, now what is exact match condition? Let's say if your sales is this, okay, let's say 1000, I'll say so. Right now I have my sales as $1000. Okay, and I have to extract commission. Okay, let's say equals to VLOOKUP, this is my lookup value, comma, my lookup table. As I'm taking my sales as my lookup column, it should start from here, right? I'm just selecting here, and this is my entire database. I freeze that F4, I say comma, I'm trying to extract commission. Commission is in your third column, and exact match 0, enter. Okay, so that will perfectly give you the 20, that is your commission. Right now, if at all my commission or my sales is $1500, okay, now in this case it gives you a hash name, because 1500 doesn't exist in the database. Okay, now in this case we go for exact match, not exact match condition, we go for approximate match condition, right? Because even if my sales amount is 1500, I'll have to extract some commission out of it, right? Now how your approximate VLOOKUP works. Okay, now I have another last column called range lookup, right? In this case, I should not be referring to exact match. I should refer to approximate match condition, that is true or 1. I give 1 here and say enter, it gives you a 20. Okay, how approximate match condition works in VLOOKUP is, it starts from the top of the database, and this 0 column, this row, will take the data till the next value, next highest value, that is 1000 is your next value. So this particular column contains, this 0 row contains value from 0 till 999, that is till the next highest value. Okay, that is less than 1000, 0 to 1000, in between whatever value you specify, that will give you the corresponding commission as 0 only. Okay, and now if you give something like 1500, this particular row contains values from 1000 to 2499. Okay, and it goes on like this: 2500 to 6999, 7000 to 9999. So this is the actual table which specifies what values it contains. So this row contains the values, it holds the values from 0 to the next highest value. It contains values from 1000 to next highest value, and whatever value you specify in that bucket, it will give you that corresponding uh, value accordingly. So my commission which I'm looking for, even if my sales is between 1000 to 1500 or 2500, it will give you a commission of 20. If I give a value of 6500, let's say, that will give you a commission of 100. Okay, that is because that falls in the bracket of this. Okay, it's like that. And whatever value greater than 10,000, okay, let's say if I give a sales of 20,000, okay, that will still get you a commission of 700. So any value greater than 10,000 in this table, okay, will yield you that 700, which is the last highest value or whatever. Okay, so that's how VLOOKUP approximate match condition works. Okay, so approximate means in between any value if you want to extract, and correspondingly if you want to extract some column out of it, then your VLOOKUP approximate match condition comes into picture. Okay, this will mostly be applied on the numerical data, and one important thing to look up in this is your data should be sorted in a ascending order format. On which lookup column you're looking at, okay, your column should be sorted in ascending order format such that you can your approximate VLOOKUP works. Okay, only if your column is sorted in ascending order, your VLOOKUP approximate match works. If it is descending order, or if it is in a jumbled order, your VLOOKUP approximate condition will not work. So prior to applying your VLOOKUP approximate match, you have to make sure that your lookup column is sorted in a ascending order, right? So that is all about your VLOOKUP. Okay, hope this session helps. See you next class.